Welcome to Bookmas Day 4. I thought as we're coming to the end of the year and we're looking towards the next one, I would talk to you about 25 books that I want to read in 2025. I'm going to make it clear, this is not 25 upcoming releases. This is a mix of backlist books, recent releases, and 2025 releases. So there's a big mix in here, but they're all books that I have a fairly solid reason for wanting to pick up. I've divided it into sections, and we're going to start with series that I want to continue reading in 2025. So the first one is Rebel Witch by Kristen Ciccarelli. This is the second book after The Crimson Moth. I read The Crimson Moth for the Goodreads Choice Awards and I had a good time with it, and it left it on such a good cliffhanger that I really want to read Rebel Witch. It's due to come out the 18th of February, so I'm really looking forward to that one. Another one I'm really excited for is A Compass to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Meyer. I really enjoyed the first two books in the series. It is the third book in the Assistant to the Villain series, and I'm really looking forward to having it kind of wrap up. I think it's the last one. Oh, it's not. It's not the last one. Well, I'm excited to continue in the series. I really love the characters and I'm just having a great time with the series as a whole. So I'm really looking forward to continuing in that series. The next two are ones that I actually already own. They're already out. And they are The Princess of Potential by Delmatch. I read The House Witch this year and I really loved it. The Princess of Potential is set in the House Witch world, following children from the House Witch series, but it is a standalone within that series. So while it is continuing a series, it is also kind of new and exciting for me. I really love the House Witch series, so I'm just really excited to be back in that world. And the other one I already own is More Confessions of a 40-something Fuck-Up by Alexandra Potter. I read Confessions of a 40-something Fuck-Up really early this year, and I immediately went and pre-ordered More Confessions of a 40-something Fuck-Up, and I just didn't get around to it. I'm going to make it a priority next year to pick up More Confessions of a 40-something Fuck-Up. Next, I have some authors that I've read from before, but they have series which I haven't started and that I haven't picked up the first book of. And the first one is the Wolf Song series by TJ Klune. I love TJ Klune, he's one of my favourite authors, and I really want to try his Wolf Song series because I believe it was his first series. It's called the Green Creek series. I really want to pick it up. I know he's still coming out with books in it, but I really want to get started on that series. Another author that I really loved this year was Lisa Cassidy. At the end of 2022 and the beginning of 2023, I read the A Tales of Stars and Shadows series, and I have never been so emotionally damaged by a series in my life. So I'd really like to pick up some of her other work. And the one I'm specifically interested in is the Inkweaver Archive, which starts with The Nameless Throne. You have no idea how excited I am to read more of her work. I have never been as emotionally invested as I was in her work, so the idea that she has other books I can pick up is just amazing. Another author I've read before that I really want to pick up their backlist is Shauna Maguire. I've read some of the Wayward Children series and I enjoyed them, but I found it difficult to really sink my teeth into the kind of shorter works. So I really want to pick up Middle Game by Shauna Maguire so that I can try her writing in a kind of longer format to see if that suits me better, because there's a lot of potential there and I just want to see if I can really love one of her books. Now we have backlist books from authors I have never read before. These are books that I have specifically heard good things about and that I really want to pick up, that either sound really up my alley or I think will open a whole new series for me to dig my teeth into that I'm really excited to try. So the first one is The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. This is the first book in the Mistborn series. I have just heard nothing but good things about this series. I have been recommended it by friends in real life. I've seen recommendations on BookTube, on Instagram, on BookTok. It's been everywhere. I know that Brandon Sanderson is a really prolific writer, and a lot of people say that this is a really good place to start with him, so I'd really like to pick up The Final Empire. Another series that has been on my TBR for a really long time that I keep not quite getting to is the Illuminae series by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. I haven't heard many positive things about the series as a whole, but I know this first book is supposed to be really, really great, and I've just been putting it off and putting it off and putting it off, so I'm going to challenge myself to read it in the next year. I really want to start the Rebel Blue Ranch series by Lila Sage, starting with Done and Dusted. I've heard really good things about the series as a whole. I love me a cowboy romance, so I'd really like to pick up Done and Dusted in the next year so that I can have the opportunity to read more books next year that are cowboy romance. I would just like to try some stuff that isn't Elsie Silver and see how I like it. And I've also heard that Done and Dusted has a main character with ADHD, and I'm really interested to see how that is portrayed in the book. A book I have wanted to get to for the longest time but haven't been able to get my hands on it. I really want the physical copy because I think there's interesting illustrations and stuff in the book, is Slewfoot by Brom. I've had a really hard time getting my hands on a physical copy and I really want to read it. I've been asking for this for every Christmas, every birthday for like the past 2 years, and no one's been able to get their hands on it. So I'm going to make a real solid effort to get my hands on Slewfoot by the end of next year, and I really want to read it. A series that I've heard quite a lot of good things about and that I think could re-spark my love of fantasy romance is the Kindred's Curse series by Penn Cole. The first one is Spark of the Everflame, and I've just heard really, really great things about it from various people. I know that there are people out there who read a lot of fantasy romance and who consider this a really good one. So I really want to pick it up, get back on that fantasy romance game, and just have a good time with it, because I've really fallen out of love with fantasy romance this year and I want to get back into it. I now have 2 horror books that I've been putting off for a while. I have Bunny by Mona Awad, which I think I will really like, but it's almost to the point where I'm afraid of being let down by it, so I haven't picked it up. I'm also worried there's going to be animal cruelty in it, and I don't know how well I'm going to do with that, but I really want to pick up Bunny. I've heard it's like this weird fever dream of a book, and I really want to give it a go and just see how insane it is. The other horror that I want to pick up, which I have put off because it is an incredibly intimidating book and is designed to exhaust you, is House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. I started it a little while ago. I got too freaked out. I wasn't that far in and I got too freaked out to keep reading it. So I really want to push through that next year. I really want to pick it up, see if I can get through it and see if I can experience the madness that is House of Leaves. Intermezzo came out this year and everyone was so excited for it, and I felt so left out because I haven't read Ellie Sally Rooney and was told you shouldn't start with Intermezzo. So I really want to read Normal People by Sally Rooney. I was really intimidated by this book. I think I was worried that I wasn't going to be able to understand the writing style, but I've picked up books since then with what I've been told is similar writing styles to Sally Rooney, with the kind of stream of consciousness and the no speech marks and that kind of thing. So I'd really like to pick up Sally Rooney so that I can make my way towards Intermezzo, because I feel like I missed it out and I don't want to miss out anymore. You may have noticed that I've started picking up a lot of sci-fi. One of the sci-fi series that has been most recommended to me is the Red Rising series by Pierce Brown. I have the first book. I've thought about reading it a lot and I haven't quite managed to get there. So I want to continue my love of sci-fi and to pick up Red Rising. I think it could be a good time for everyone involved, and I would love to be able to recommend it to people that I know, because I know a fair few sci-fi readers and I don't have many recommendations for them because I haven't read very much of it. So picking up Red Rising would give me an opportunity to connect with them, which really excites me. The final one is something that has been on my TBR for ages. I don't even own it. I don't own it, but it has been sat staring at me from my Amazon wishlist for years. And I know nothing about it. I know absolutely nothing about it. It's The Spear Cuts Through Water by Simon Jimenez. I read somewhere that it was devastating, and that was enough. That was enough for me to want to read it. And it has been sat staring at me for so long that I really want to get to it. It feels like it will be an accomplishment when I read that book. I will have lived up to the expectations of past me. The final set of books that I want to read are ones I'm calling new releases. And by that I mean they've been released within 2024 or are being released in 2025. And my first one, and potentially the one I'm most excited for, is Cold Eternity by S.A. Barnes. I discovered S.A. Barnes this year. I read both her previous work, loved them both, and I'm so excited for her to come out with another one. It's coming out on the 8th of April 2025. So I'm so excited to get my hands on that one and see whether it lives up to the other two that I've read. Another book that is coming out actually really soon is Hamajang Luck by Makama Yamamoto. I read an interview with this author and I was just so impressed with the way she talked about her book that I really want to pick it up. It's a sci-fi heist book, which just sounds fantastic. I've heard it's similar to Six of Crows, which I loved. I've heard it's similar to Blade Runner and Ocean's 8, which are two really great movies. So I really want to pick that up and continue expanding my sci-fi knowledge. Another book that's coming out relatively soon is Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. It's coming out on the 14th of January. I've only read one Grady Hendrix, but I feel like we could really do something for each other. And by that I mean I could really like one of his books. I think one of his books is going to be fantastic for me, and so I'm really excited to try his newest work. I think it's a really interesting premise. I'm really intrigued in like this kind of girl group cult thing going on, and these like homes for young mothers have such a horrible history that I'm interested to see how that is done in the book. I think it's a really interesting perspective to read from. A book that came out this year in October that I'm really excited to read is The Book of Witching by C.J. Cook. I don't know much about the premise, but I read The Lighthouse Witches by C.J. Cook and I really enjoyed it. I think this has a similar kind of multiple timeline thing going on, which was really well done in The Lighthouse Witches. It's also just a really beautiful book. I got one of the kind of first print run special editions of it, and I'm just really excited to have read such a beautiful book. Another one coming out next year that I'm really excited for is Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. This is coming out in June 2025, and I've honestly been a little intimidated by V.E. Schwab. I've picked up some of her middle grade and loved it, but other than Addie LaRue, I've been a bit nervous about picking up some of her series because I just don't know which one to start with. They all seem confusing to me. So when I heard that she was coming out with a standalone, potentially sapphic book, I was like, yep, that's for me. That's 100% for me. I 100% want to pick that up. Final two, both came out this year. One has had some not so stellar reviews, and one I've only heard fantastic things about. The first one is Funny Story by Emily Henry. I really want to read more of Emily Henry's works. I found Happy Place to Be a really great book and I want to get into her backlist. But first I want to catch up. I want to catch up with where Emily Henry is now and understand what she's doing present day, and to do that I need to read Funny Story. So that is a big goal of mine, is to read more Emily Henry, and I want to start with Funny Story. The other book that I'm just over the moon excited to read that came out this year is The Ministry of Time by Kellyanne Bradley. I am so intrigued by the premise of this book. There's a time travel nature to it, which I'm really excited about. The author comes from multiple cultural backgrounds, and apparently that's represented really, really well in the book. And that is a perspective that I haven't read much of. So I'm just really intrigued to see what that is like in the book. I honestly don't know why I haven't read it this year. I think I have been just distracted by other things. But I also got a special edition signed copy of it. So I'm really hoping I love it. That's it.
That's not it. The eagle-eyed among you will have noticed that that was only 24 books. Somehow, in the process of filming this all, I missed out an entire book. So I'm going to tell you about it now. It is This Book Will Bury Me by Ashley Winstead. I have had just such a great time with both the Ashley Winstead books that I have picked up that I really want to pick up her new release. I also want to read The Last Housewife, but I want to get to her new release. I want to be part of the people that read this book as soon as it comes out. I don't think her books are specifically realistic, but the insanity within them just fills my little heart with joy. So that is my 25th book. I'm sorry I forgot it, but I remembered now. I want to read This Book Will Bury Me by Ashley Winstead.
That is 25 books I want to read next year. Maybe we'll come back to this in a year's time and see how many of them I read. It seems like such a simple goal to read 25 books, but mood reading, man. Mood reading and book slumps. Who knows what's going to happen? Who knows? But those are 25 books I really want to pick up. Thank you for joining me for Bookmas Day 4. It's really great having you here, and if you want to enjoy more of the Booklist content, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video.